Most people assume that the Bible is repetitive on purpose. But what if the repetition that's in Revelation is actually a signal? What if the Holy Spirit wants you to notice something doesn't look the same twice? Revelation introduces the 144,000 and then later shows them again. And almost no one slows down enough to ask why. Different setting, different description, different angle. So here's the question that everyone wants to know. People are asking, but the question is rarely answered. Is Revelation showing two different 144,000, or is it something far more intentional? Today we're going to look carefully, not emotionally. We're not going to speculate, but we're going to look textually. And by the end of this video, you'll see why this wasn't a mistake and why missing this changes how you understand the entire book of Revelation. Let's be honest. People don't ask this question out of ignorance. They ask it because the text invites it. In Revelation 7, the 144,000 are numbered, they're sealed, they're connected to the tribes of Israel, and they're standing in the middle of judgment and restraint. But in Revelation 14, the 144,000 are standing with the Lamb on Mount Zion. They're singing a new song. They're described as pure, faithful, undefiled, and they're presented in worship in this scene, not in warfare. These are two very different scenes and two very different functions. So people naturally think maybe these are two groups, two different groups. And this assumption actually makes sense. But Revelation is not written like a modern textbook. It's written like Jewish apocalyptic literature. And apocalyptic literature doesn't repeat in ways, it more re-portrays. One of the biggest mistakes that people make when reading Revelation is that they assume that it moves strictly forward in time. But scholars unanimously agree that Revelation moves in cycles, not in straight lines. The same people, the same events are shown from different angles. One scholar specifically says that John frequently recapitulates the same events, describing them from different perspectives in order to deepen understanding rather than to advance chronology. And this matters because if Revelation regularly revisits the same group to show them in different stages or roles, then difference does not equal separate or division. It equals development. Now let's look more closely at Revelation 7. So this is not a worship scene. In Revelation 7, we see a protective scene. We see the sealing of the 144,000 happening before the trumpet judgments intensify, before the judgment accelerates on the earth, and before the biggest part of the pressure of the world increases. So this language is about preservation in Revelation 7, not about victory. So the seal doesn't make them necessarily powerful, but it marks them as belonging to God specifically. And this actually fits perfectly with other biblical sealing language that we see in the Bible: ownership, protection, and identification. Nothing here says that their story is finished. It more so says that they're marked for what's coming. Now, if we fast forward to Revelation 14, we actually see the same number. We see the same designation, but we see a radically different setting here. So they're no longer being sealed. They're actually standing in this scene. They're no longer being counted either, but they're singing in victory. And in Revelation 14, they're described by loyalty, by truthfulness, by intimacy with Jesus, and by faithfulness. This is not a new group. This is actually the same group, but after the endurance. Another biblical scholar explains it this way: the 144,000 are first presented as sealed for protection, and then they later reappear as a faithful community who have come through the tribulation. So this is the key. These are not true groups, but they're one group that's seen twice. But why does John do this? He's not confused. He actually does this intentionally. He shows the 144,000 before the pressure and then after the pressure. But why does he do this? And it's because the book of Revelation is not trying to satisfy curiosity. It's trying to form faithfulness and endurance in God's people. So the question that the book of Revelation is asking, it's who can remain faithful all the way into the end. So the shift actually that we see in Revelation, from standing to numbering to worship to anticipation and then to completion, is the point. And like I said before, this isn't a fringe idea. It's not new. The visions in the book of Revelation often portray the same scenes, and not just this one, but other scenes from different vantage points. This scene emphasizes the testing, the calling, and the ultimate vindication of God's people. Revelation 7 is trying to answer the question, will God protect his people? And then Revelation 14 is answering the question, did they remain faithful? Most people miss this because they read Revelation horizontally, but John wants you to read it vertically. The 144,000 aren't duplicated, they're developed. The sealing of the 144,000 was not the end, it was only the beginning. And the final image is not survival, it's worship after victory. So no, Revelation is not exposing two different 144,000 groups. It's revealing one faithful people from calling to completion. Watch these videos next for more revelation, and I'll see you there.